liking it, started dabbling with it on the desktop, and my degree's in art multimedia, so I just decided to start playing around with the multimedia aspects of the desktop operating system and seeing what I could do with it. And there's really isn't much that you can't do with Linux right now, which is pretty awesome. I mean, we're all big fans. I use it every day on my work desktop, which is this guy right here, and it's loaded with all kinds of goodies. But I've never done a Linux presentation before, so bear with me. I'm just going to go ahead and I created a big list of all the things I want to talk about, and I'm just going to go through them point by point, just kind of ramble on, just like I'm doing right now. So the first thing is, what's a podcast? There's so many different ways you can define that, but basically the way to think of it in simple layman's terms would be, it's just an audio recording that's getting syndicated or broadcast out through RSS to various RSS readers, or even like iTunes can capture it, and then having those readers download those recordings so you could hear it on your portable device or on your desktop. So just think of it as broadcasting in a whole new digital way, not just through radio, it's doing it through RSS basically as an enclosure. So that was actually my next thing too, how they distributed. There's a lot of ways. There's even an RSS reader called Bloglines. I don't know if you've heard of that, where you pick up on all the latest news, or you can keep track of all the sites that you like and get the latest of what's going on with them. But if someone embeds an MP3 link in the post, it will actually read that and put in its own little flash MP3 player, and you can actually listen to the audio directly through Bloglines, which is kind of cool. So you don't even have to download it; you can just play it directly through the site. But so the things that I want to cover today are going to be microphones for recording yourself or doing interviews, capture software, royalty-free music samples and how you get them, editing software, and the distribution point again, in a little bit more in-depth detail. So USB microphones are probably the way to go. The one that I have right now is actually hybrid. It's kind of a funky one that I found at Best Buy because I don't really like to spend too much money on just testing out new technologies. So this one's actually been really good. I'm going to show you the product page for it first.
So this is a USB one?
This one is actually a hybrid, but it has analog. Just like you can see right here, there's like a pink and a green connector you put on the back of your computer. But there's actually an attachment adapter that you plug those two connectors in, and it has a USB on the other side. So if your computer doesn't like using the standard way of doing things and prefers the USB, you can use that adapter and it works well.
I have a really nice one at home, but I can't get the microphone to work because it only recognizes it as a sound card, a USB sound card. Mm-hmm. It doesn't recognize the microphone portion of the sound card.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm using Fedora Core 6, and one of the latest kernels.
It could be the sound card on your computer or the one that's embedded on the motherboard, and it's just issues that you got to kind of play around with. So I don't have an answer. It's just trial and error like everything else on Linux, and either it works or it doesn't, but you figure out how to make it work.
Check and see if it shows up in USB view. It should give you a list of USB endpoints, and if you don't see one that mentions a microphone, then that's your problem.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure somebody else could try to help you with that. That's awesome. Because I mean, most of the ways I figure out how to do things are through the community, through forums, and Google's my best friend for that kind of thing.
How is the quality of the audio on this? I'm really impressed with the one that I bought. It really sounds great.
Well, this is the cheapy one, and I'm going to go through 3 of them. This one and 2 are the higher end ones that I suggest picking up if you really want to get serious. But in the meantime, like VoIP headset, this is pretty much what this is. It's designed for doing Skype calling. They work just fine too. So let me. This is the headset that I'm talking about. This is the adapter that I was talking about. So back here has 2 connectors for these 2 guys here, and they actually reduced the price to $39.95 now.
How much was it originally?
I think it was like closer to 50.
What do you think is the high end, like Plantronics or Sennheiser?
Probably the Sennheiser. If that's how you say it, correct? I don't know. I know what you're talking about, but
They make great headphones.
mean, I just want to give you a quick close-up. So this is actually the wrap behind your neck ones, which are kind of fun too, because you don't have that headphone head going up. It just wraps around behind, and then you have the nice cushions, so it's comfortable to talking to for an extended period of time, which is important because if the headset's uncomfortable, either you're recording to suffer because you're just getting lagged, you just feel tired, or you just don't want to use them, and what's the point if you're not going to use them? So I'm going to show you some of the other ones. This one has actually been recommended to me by a few different people, and it's actually the one that the Linux Action Show guys use.
Linux who?
The Linux Action Show, probably the most popular Linux podcast on the net, but you should check it out.
Only $50, huh?
I just found that today. It's like super hard to believe. This is $199 list price, which is what I've seen it out for a while. Actually, it's been between the $150 and $199. But yeah, I guess this game discontinued or whatever, and it's $49.99. So hot item. There's this other one here, and this is a USB also. It's a condenser microphone, so it actually works a lot different than this guy here. It just does 10 times way better sound quality. It's what professionals use. And then there's this guy too, and list price on this right now is $159. So it's pretty much the exact same thing as the other one, except for this one includes software, but not for us, of course. It's for PC and Mac. It's using Cakewalk
USB?
software.
Oh, it's USB, that's great.
Yeah, both of those are USB. So this one's using Cakewalk, and I'm going to show you later on today Audacity, which will kind of handle the same duty.
Does this give you like broadcast quality audio?
Both of those, yeah. Both of those are what professionals use for daily usage. All right, so next thing I want to cover is interviews using VoIP software. A lot of people like to do this. When I was on Windows, I would always talk to people over Skype, and most people who have a VoIP client these days is probably pretty much Skype, which is the most popular one out there. It's much easier to record audio on Windows with Skype because there's third-party applications out there that work really, really well. And I've actually played around. I've actually done the whole VMware thing where I'm running XP and virtually. I've got Skype going. I've got the audio recorder software going, and it works perfect as long as you turn off all the audio stuff on your Linux side, and then let VMware have full control. It's everything. Everybody's happy, and it works great. But we're much cooler than that. So
I thought there was a version of Skype for Linux. Does it not do the same?
actually, yeah.
Actually, there is.
I was going to get to it.
They just released it too, like within the last month, and it's
What's
awesome.
it called?
Skype, and it works. They have an RPM for it. Skype, just put Skype.
Oh, I know we have Skype for Linux. Yeah, I'm talking about the recording software, which we'll get to. There is actually a recording script on the Linux end for Skype, for the Skype client. But I'll get to
Is
it.
it needed anymore? Because there's a new Skype out. This is the latest version of Skype software.
But the latest version of Skype doesn't have recording capabilities in it natively.
Oh, really?
Yeah. On the other hand, Gizmo does. It always has since day one. And Gizmo, so here's Gizmo. Let's see if there's better screenshots here. Anyways, actually I've got it right here. I'm going to launch it for you. Alright, so this is your standard Gizmo client here. And since I'm not going to call anybody, I'm going to test the party line out, and I'll show you where the recording function is. So you double click there, and all you would do is hit record right here.
Does
And
it play a beat on the other end so they can tell it being recorded?
that's a good question. I'll tell you what happens there. Actually, they have a whole page dedicated to that. So what it does is it actually broadcasts a pre-recorded message saying, this conversation is being recorded, and it's pretty much up to you if you want to continue on with the conversation. And once it starts recording, it just does it in the background. It creates a WAV file, which is really easy to work with and it's high quality because a lot of the recorder apps do MP3. So you're getting a nice WAV file to work with. And it just sets it up on your desktop when it's done recording. And then you can bring it into Audacity later on.
You have to pay for it, for the service? Or?
For Gizmo, Gizmo is free to call any other Gizmo client. It's got a SID client in it as well, and it's I think 1 cent per minute or something like that to landline and mobile. So it's pretty economical, and it also works as an IM client, a universal one, where it works with Windows, with Hotmail or whatever, or MSN, sorry, and Yahoo, and somebody else. And yeah, AOL. But I would recommend going this route right here. This is probably the easiest way to record an interview with somebody. Just spend a little extra money. You get 25 cents automatically when you open your account, kind of gratis. And so you got 25 minutes right there to play around with it. And like I said, you can talk to someone free forever, just using the Gizmo client, or call them on the landline and record the conversations, let them know ahead of time that's what you're doing. So,
What's really bad about Gizmo is that they give you like a free, 5 minutes or 10 minutes?
25.
But if you actually click the button to tune, to make sure it's working, and places a call to an automated VoIP service that says hello to you, and then you say hello to it, and then it records it, and then it plays it back, that actually comes right off your minutes when you're setting it up.
I don't think so. I mean, if it's part of the setup, that's always free.
It only happens if you're calling out something.
It charges me.
Well, it's only 1 cent a minute.
Yeah.
Let me give you that. But all right. So then you have.
A quick question.
Sure.
You said the chat, does it also do like Gmail?
Google Talks.
Oh, yeah, Google.
It says it works with Google Talk now.
Jabber.
So that's brand new then, because about 2 weeks ago it says that they were working on it. So I guess they finally integrated it. I guess in this 3.1 release.
What is ICQ? Is that using?
ICQ is the same protocol as AIM.
Okay.
That's just because when you're talking to those guys,
Okay.
just like a regular instant messenger. But it's nice because it's built in, so you just keep one client on at all times and it works well. But same with the Kiko or whatever it's called. This guy, that works with different IM clients too, but it's strictly a SIP phone.
It's SIP, yeah, they're all SIP based. And the other thing what you were talking about Gizmo is it's going to be impossible to passwords except for open source.
Yeah, you're right. The last meeting we had, I forgot his name, was showing that off. Gizmo's going on his internet tablet, talking to his Asterisk server back in his office, and it worked great.
I think Ekigod does SIP, and then there's another one. It's
There is another one.
I don't know what it is. It's actually superior to SIP in some ways because it has less trouble with firewalls. SIP's a big pain when you're on the cable modem.
Well, once you got it up and running, it's working. It's hassle-free pretty much, unless you mess around with your settings on your computer, because once it's configured, it goes. All right. So next up, we got Skype. Like people were saying already, there is a Skype version for Linux. And if you're running like Debian, there's actually a repository set up. You just put it in your list, and it'll automatically show you all the newer versions that come out. There's actually 2 how-tos. I'm going to link to some of these things in the notes for the video or the permalink page. And this particular how-to talks about how to get it to work on multiple distributions. There's actually another one that's specifically for Ubuntu, which is actually it's a lot easier. So if you're a fan of Ubuntu, you're just going to pretty much install these packages here, unpack it, and then the script right here will record the conversation and just. I'm not sure what format it's an MP3. And then you just, again, once you have your recording of the whole interview, just bring it into Audacity, which again I'll show you later. And then this is brand new. For doing interviews with a cell phone and a landline, this has been like one of my biggest headaches of trying to be able to do it. But it's possible now through a service called Grand Central, and Google just bought them. So let me show you what that guy looks like.
What does it do?
I'll try to explain it, but I probably won't do a very good job. It's some kind of web service where it basically manages all your phone numbers. So your cell phone number, your landline number, your even your SIP client, your business phone, whatever, I don't know, just all the numbers you can plug into it. Basically, anytime you get a call, what you want to do is you want to give everybody, your clients, your family, and everyone, one number. And with that one number, Grand Central will direct that call to whatever phone you like, or whichever phone is active for you at that time. So if I had it set up to go to my SIP account in my cell, and I don't want to use up any minutes, I just open up my SIP client and I can take the call and have a conversation. But how it applies to what we're talking about today is that one of the features that's built into it is anytime during the conversation, when you're on the phone, you just hit the number 4 and it automatically records the conversation. I didn't give the notification as well. And it saves it in your inbox. And then from your inbox, you just download it. So it's pretty very painless way to do an audio interview.
Yeah, I think Pinger also does it too.
Pinger?
Pinger.com. They have a similar service.
Is that the right way to spell
I
it?
think so, yeah.
So I'm always interested in finding out other ways to do things. And
Sounds like unified messaging, man.
kind of, sort of, yeah. I mean, you get all your recordings there too, all your voicemail. Just put it in. Yeah, the connection here is slow, but it's coming up. Oh, we can look at it later. And then the next thing I want to start getting into now is I'm not a lawyer, so I can't really guide you on everything you do when it comes to sampling or ripping your music and using bits and pieces of it for your podcast. But at least with the kind of music I listen to, I listen to electronic music, so a lot of the it's just random noise almost. So it's like you can kind of get away with doing a quick loop on a small portion of it, and I don't know if that's fair use or not, but that's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it, if you want to do it the legit way, and this is, has anybody heard of Creative Commons?
Yes.
All right. So there's this thing called CC Mixter, where artists are actually allowing people to take some samples or a whole track and remix and do things with it. But also, a lot of these artists are uploading files and giving them a particular type of license. And without going through every single license, I'll just kind of give you a quick overview. There's your standard standard copyright style license where you gotta ask me, you can't use it anyway without my permission ahead of time, all that. But then it gets more lax as it goes down in different licensing schemes. And actually, I think I have a link here to the licenses since we're talking about it. Yeah. So you have attribution, non-commercial, no derivatives, and they'll have these icons. So a lot of times when you go to artist sites now, you'll start seeing these icons, these creative common icons that will link you to the license. That gives you more information on what exactly you can do with their work. Some artists aren't really that tight anymore. Same with photographers. A lot of them will say, "Yeah, go ahead, use this photo. Just give me credit." And just let people know that I took it, and use it any way you like, other than selling that image and making a profit off it, because that's commercial. So, like I said, as you go down, it gets more lax, and then you have the attribution share alike and an attribution only. You can do whatever the hell you want. Like I said, as long as you give me credit, you can remix it and just use a portion of it, create something else, and I think you can actually sell it as something else. But as long as you give the credit. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a big Creative Commons guy to follow these kind of things. But I just know these two licenses right here will allow you to use them in your podcast without a problem, as long as you mention it in the credits. That's where you got it from. So,
How's the quality of material that you're finding under those licenses?
that's what I wanted to show you right now, but it's drawing funny. I'm gonna expand out for a second. How much is this gonna see? Okay.
Now, all of the Penlug videos are attribution share alike.
Very good. So let's do a down tempo style, and then I'm gonna do. I know you can't see it. Let's roll it.
I got a question. If people upload things to your website, is there an easy way to set them up to click by some kind of click mechanism to
To the license.
license it in a policy consistent with what your website says?
I wish I had an example for you. Actually, probably one of the best examples. I wish I had something better to show you, but this will give you a quick idea. So these are my photos that I have on Flickr. And you can actually set up, can you see this? Yeah. You can actually set up your preference on licensing for your photos. And you can change it at any time. So I have the non-commercial version. It actually links back, you see, which is really nice. It links back to the Creative Commons license page exactly for that type of license. And it says you're free to share, copy, distribute, and transmit this work. And then you use the following conditions on which you can do that. And remember these icons are the ones that you saw earlier. So you can do this with your podcast too, your complete podcast. Just say, hey, you guys can definitely download this, add it to your site directory of audio, and as long as there's credit to me on that, you don't have to pay me anything. Ask me for my permission to allow people to download it. Is this stuff kind of new for people or not? Or am I boring you?
What was that SF New Tech thing?
What's that?
What was the SF New Tech thing?
I can show you after the meeting.
Okay.
It's a technology group in San Francisco once a month. But so you were asking about the quality, right? So I'm gonna show you. Let me expand out again real quick. So I chose down tempo earlier, as you can see here. And I know, unfortunately, when I scrunched it back up, it covered up the other part that I want to show you, but there's a selection, a pull-down menu for pick a license. So you select the type of music you want to scan through, and then you say, I just want to see it with this particular license, and then it saves you the time of checking each song and seeing what kind of license it has. So Automatic sorts it out, and then, so this is my selection here. For the license type that it is Attribution 3.0. And this is your download link. This is your, let's listen to it. So you can actually sample what it sounds like.
So you're simply looking for tags, right? In the MP3s, you go tag them and you're selecting them, right?
Hold on. Usually. The quality's not too bad here. I can actually download it and tell you exactly what bit rate and all that. So this might make a nice intro to your podcast right here. And then you can talk over it or use it in a segment of your podcast for like background for a particular topic that you talk about in the outdoors. Nice sunny Sunday afternoon. But anyways, so this is a great resource for stuff like that. And there's actually other sections where they have samples and loops as well. So these are a little bit more, more lengthy pieces. And another really good one that is also in the same spirit is the Internet Archive. And how many people have heard of the Internet Archive? Okay, cool.
Oh, yeah.
It's a great
Oh, yeah,
resource.
great series of atomic bomb movies.
Yeah, it comes in handy. So you can go to the audio section, and there's actually some great concerts that people record too. So if you're a big fan, like see over here, you have Grateful Dead, and there's 2,800 items. So these are actual recordings by attendees to the concerts, and they record these killer sets and then they just post them. And as far as I know, I think I've heard this before, that the Grateful Dead actually does not mind this in any way, as long as it's a recording from a live concert, you know, and you're not plugged into the actual the PA system or whatever. You're just recording the sound of the event and all that. I believe they don't have a problem with it unless someone else knows otherwise. But
Question?
yes.
Have any of y'all tripped up over the RIAA in its infinite wisdom thinking that it can charge fees on broadcasts of music even for artists that haven't officially agreed to let them do that?
That's a whole subject.
Yeah, it's a whole other ball of wax there. I don't know how
Has it
to answer
affected
that
y'all
without
much
doing a
yet?
lot of research.
Or at all?
What's that?
Has that affected the kind of?
Well, I know that RIA, there was just a news item recently where somebody posted a video on YouTube and they were using some track of some semi-popular group, and
Well, the thing
they
is,
just
is
took it
that,
right. They just took it right down just for all they did is ask, and they really didn't have to prove anything. They just
well, the
took
thing
it
I'm
down.
talking about is how that they're somehow getting it into their head that even if you decided you want to put it on the net for free, that they somehow think they have the right to charge for it anyway.
I see what you're saying.
So if an artist.
That's in the contract with the artist.
Some artists have public domain.
Well,
or-
hold on. It should be. I mean, if it's not stated in the contract, then
There's
they have the right to do whatever they please.
Well,
with
this
it.
is,
But most of the time there is contingencies.
the obnoxious part of it all, is that they're going out and claiming things that shouldn't be true. Somehow,
There's all kinds of horror stories. I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds like you're interested in these kind of things, and one of the best resources for this topic in particular would be the EFF, the Electronic
I
Frontier Foundation.
know that. I just-
So yeah, those are the guys who are keeping on top of these matters pretty well.
Yeah.
Some professional performers belong to unions, and I remember that there was a bar in, a jazz bar in Houston, where members of the symphony would come and play for free whenever they felt like it. Anyone could just get up and play, and they had to stop that because they had to stop performing live music because they belonged to the musicians union, which barred them from playing for free. So they basically had to stop everybody from playing for free, but this was in the 80s.
No, I believe you. I'm sure these issues come up, and you're probably right if there's some.
Well, these are cases where they don't even have that much. These people are not members of any union, they haven't signed a contract with anybody, but they have this idea that they've got something called sound exchange, I think it is, where they're supposed to get paid, and then somehow after the fact, maybe if you're an artist, you can go and ask them, well, can you give me some of that money you collected for this?
Do they ever get anything back?
It's really, really highly obnoxious.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Anyway, yeah.
No problem. All right. So let's move on to some other things. Oh, there's also the public domain. And that gets kind of sketchy because it's all again with copyright law. It's supposed to be after a certain number of years it goes into the public domain. But then a lot of these studios, what do you call it? I guess they reinstate the copyright. So like I know like Disney does like
Mickey
a
Mouse.
years or whatever at a time.
It's 50 years past its expiration.
Yeah.
It's something ridiculous. Yeah.
It's
So it's supposed to go
nonsense.
back in the public domain.
But
No,
at
it's
some
supposed to-
point, I would think.
It's pretty sad.
You know,
It's that state of affairs.
a fun site to look at is Janice Ian's website, because she's got quite a bit of opinion about what's wrong with the recording contract, and there's a good story about what happens to her and what these contracts do to the artists. And she's a fun lady to visit. She's fighting them.
Again, if these topics interest you, Lawrence Lessig, he's a Stanford professor and lawyer, and he's written a bunch of good books on the topic, especially the free culture title right there. That's a really good one in regards to getting content back out to the public domain and protecting artists' rights, but at the same time letting their listeners have a little freedom to do certain things with music and art in general too.
And does my memory serve me right that some of those you can read online at this site?
I
They're
think
all free.
I don't know if they're all free. Are they? I know some of them are. You're right.
I started reading some of those books from there. It's downloadable. The one I think was.
In any case, readable. Yeah.
All right. So let's kind of spice things up a little bit here, and let's talk about actual recording. Actually, something happened in my notes here real quick. Excuse me 1 second. All right, I think I can kind of manage it from here. All right, obviously there's 2 audio codecs that the majority of people use. Actually, it's really 1, but we're Linux guys, so we want to do the audio board this thing too. The most popular format to get music in the podcast would be an MP3. And so on a technical side, this is all stuff that I've experienced, and it's been a lot of trial and error, and then just doing some reading online and finding this information out. Oh, let me put this over here. So these are good guidelines to go by when you're trying to set up your audio. And if you're doing a pure speech podcast, which like I'm just recording myself right now, this would be considered a pure speech podcast. It's 22050 kilohertz. And then you can do it 48 kilobits per second. And I'm going to show you how that translates when you're setting up Audacity in a second. And then if you're going to have a little bit of music, because I like to do maybe a little intro or have some music, just kind of in the mix with some of the talking, you want to bump that up a little bit more because it'll sound like junk at the lower bit rates. So anything with a little bit of music or mainly music, you want to do at 44100 kilohertz. And then you want to do, like it says there for the speech, 64 to 96, or mostly music 128 and above. And there's a really important reason why you want to stick with those numbers on the left side. Is because remember I was talking earlier, like Bloglines has an embedded player that's done in Flash, and Flash is very, very particular on those numbers. So a lot of times you'll see, I think Audacity by default will do 4,800 or 48,000 kilohertz, and that will actually speed up the music in the player and it'll sound like a chipmunk. So you want to bring it into these two number categories, or else it just sounds really bad or it doesn't work at all.
I think Audacity does 48 because that's CD audio.
Right. Yeah, that's quite exactly why it does it. But since we want to go online and we're not really doing it for CD, we have to kind of follow the standard. And the standard right now is Flash for a lot of these embedded players. So stick with these numbers and you'll be happy.
And you say Ogg Vorbis is just not shouldn't try and work in that format. Just focus on.
Well, there's I want to show you. I actually have. Here's my Ogg tips here. So for Ogg, you have it's pretty much the same exact on the kilohertz there, but they use a different scheme. They don't use the bit rate. At least for Audacity they don't, and some other players or some other recorders that I've seen. So you do quality settings, and it's usually from 1 to 10.
They're doing constant sampling. They're adjusting the bit rate actually.
It's very quiet. Yeah. So yeah, quality 3, which can be your low end. That's definitely acceptable. It doesn't sound crackly. It sounds still pretty decent. Quality 5 is obviously right in between. And then if you wanted to do, good quality recordings, you do quality 8 and above. But the thing to know, and I'm sure you could probably put two and two together, is that the higher quality you go, the way larger your files get. So that's the whole point, if you're doing a speech, to really shrink that down and make it easy for your listeners to take in the music.
Can you record two at once? I mean, two different,
Absolutely.
different audiences.
I'm glad you asked. Let me show you something. So I like to show examples of things. And so I like the Linux Action Show quite a bit. And these guys are smart. They're strictly Linux, but they know that not everybody prefers the aux Vorbis format. And MP3 is just more of it. It's more prominent. If you go to the aux section, can you see that? Yes. So if you notice with the aux, they have two versions of it. They have small and high quality. So they'll do different versions. I've done some on my site.
So you can have a source file and you can recast it in the lower bit rate?
I'll show you a good way to do it. At least I think it's good. And it's one way that I've decided to do my stuff. Alright. So over here where it says listen now. So right there is an embedded player, which I can play right now. This is Alexander Glepper with EVOM Upgrade, and I'm going to be speaking with Peter Brown of the Free Software Foundation, Executive Director there, and also in charge or lead, possibly, of the Effective Budget Design Group. And someone just passed over.
Used to restrict what free software can do, and of course, if free software is restricted, it's no longer free software. So that's the main.
So the beauty here is that when a reader or visitor comes to your site, they can automatically listen to the recording right there on that. They don't have to download anything. So that's the beauty of having the Flash embedded. But then that's the actual file that I use for the player. I actually link to it, and then I have an OGG version right next to it. So it's all to my listener, which would they prefer.
So the
You should always give choice.
The version that was playing was Flash?
The player is made in Flash, but you plug in an MP3 which it streams and plays it.
Oh, so
it's playing that. It's actually playing that link that I have there for that MP3.
Oh, okay, so I didn't know that Flash could play MP3, so that there was a plugin for it.
Just like they can play video, they can play it MP3.
At the
The
moment,
problem is that the MP3 is not actually embedded in the Flash file.
right.
It's not. It's just a player, and it pulls. It's just like when you're doing Flickr. A lot of the slideshow stuff is all in Flash. The image is in a database or in a directory, but it'll just bring it in. It's just, you don't have to create a Flash player with all the content in it. It's just bringing it in for these different locations.
I just sort of, my question is more like, because you have the two formats, MP3 now,
Yeah.
did you start with a WAV file and then export it to both formats?
So when I'm doing my editing and I want to export out, that's exactly what I do. I just said, okay, well, I just made an MP3. Now I want to export it as an OGG. So I could do different formats. I could do different bit rates, different quality settings. It's all up to me and how much storage I have or want to dedicate to that.
Where's that MP3? That link is a file hosted somewhere. Is it hosted on your?
This is
While
hosted on my
USB?
website, on my server. You could actually have it remotely located, which I'm going to show you later. Well, I can actually
Right
right now. So like the Internet Archive has it's got a dual personality. But there's the Internet Archive that you could upload music to, but then there's Our Media. And Our Media is designed for content creators, basically, that publish their podcasts or publish their videos, and then basically you could use that file that's stored with them at no cost to you, since they're hosting it, and then run it through your player in the place file.
So you would be downloading the file as well as streaming it at the same time. What's that do to performance?
Well, you saw this, right?
Yeah.
See how it was buffering earlier?
Right.
So let's put a different one.
So, okay, what you're saying is the Flash player buffers?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all on the client side anyway, so it's not on.
This is Alexander Gretner with EVOM Upgrade. So, actually, this is connected pretty quick right now. So, usually if it's slow or it takes a while, it'll start saying buffering over here, and it'll just buffer the file.
So you didn't create the
What's that?
you don't always have to build.
Oh, on that one? Yeah, I was lazy. That was an earlier episode, and then especially when I was talking to this guy, Peter Brown from Defective Web Design, he's one of like the head honcho guys. Well, he's a bigwig in the Free Software Foundation. Defective by Design is an offshoot of them. It's more of an advocacy thing against consumer electronics. So, especially talking to him, I felt it was very appropriate, because the type of person that's going to be listening to that would want to probably have the free version of the file on that.
Is there any restriction put in by ISP if you do posting for like podcasts because of high bandwidth? Because I read somewhere that.
Can you speak up a little bit? I'm sorry.
I mean, is there any restriction put in by ISPs? You know, if you're.
A restriction by the ISP for?
Yeah.
Not really. The one place you'll see the restriction.
So there's
Well, okay,
charging.
if you say it that way, I think you're really referring to like your hosting provider. If you have like a small account on a shared hosting provider, yeah. I mean, you'll have like each account has a limited bandwidth that each person gets per month. And I have a dedicated server, so for me, it's pretty big. Whereas someone who's like on DreamHost or some small, the smaller guys there'll be like 8 to 10 different websites running off one machine. Those have much smaller bandwidth restrictions every month. So yeah, it'll affect those types of people, and that's where offloading it onto somebody else, like Internet Archive or our media does well. There's another site called Odeo.com. So this kind of stuff I was going to get to towards the end, but since we're talking about it. And then you could create an account with Odeo, and you could actually upload your files there. And I want to talk to you a little bit about ID3 tags. I was reading their FAQ, but I haven't used the service, and it looks like they strip out all your ID3 tags if you upload to their system. So that's something you'll have to do through their site, which is kind of a little extra work, but it pays off because you don't have to host the files again. And then you can embed the player. They actually have an embeddable player that.
What's the revenue model that this service runs on?
Odeo site?
Is it you have to you have a limited amount you can download or upload for free, and then you sign up and pay for additional service?
No, like I said, I haven't used the service, but most of these guys offer almost pretty much unlimited storage, for uploading your files, because they're making it back in traffic and ad revenue on their site, and it's just the same way as
Where are they
YouTube.
embedding their ad revenue? Where are they embedding their ads? Inside your audio? I mean, how are they?
Yeah, they actually when you upload through them, that's right. That's what the FAQ said. That's why the ID3 tags get taken out, because they actually attach a section to the front of your podcast, which is like an audio or an audio ad.
Like 30 seconds or 15-second ad?
Yeah.
Well, that's tolerable if you don't want to pay any money. I mean, you have to pay out of your own
I
wallet.
mean, if you're cheap and someone wants to help you out in some way, then
Right, you're gonna have to pay somehow. So I mean, either pay by
I would prefer to do the Internet Archive or our media and have it hosted there, because there's no restriction. And
but they have limited resources, right? So there's a limit on how much.
Look at that second URL is very interesting. That's a delicious tag. It's pointing to delicious and then somewhere else. No, it's not. Okay.
here's like an embedded player right here that's.
So that's the channel that it came from. Somebody bookmarked it on Delicious, and that's why it's in there.
A lot of times you find people on Google Video, they upload a static image and then audio as part of that.
I've seen that too. Like on YouTube or something, they'll put like a photo and then just take the rest of the audio and just keep that photo throughout the whole. That's another way to do it. Why not? People create it that way. Sure.
So that's still MP3 for the audio, or is it something?
No, that would be like a DivX file, like an FX1.
DivX with MP3.
At least that's what you would have to upload to the site in order for it to work, because you couldn't do that with just a standard MP3 now. Alright, so let's talk about Audacity. This is what I use. This is probably one of the best free open source apps for working with audio. At least entry level. There's like a studio grade application. I think it's called Encosher. That's supposed to be.
This is superb, though. This is superb.
Yeah, you like it?
Well, I actually worked at a company called Mobilogen. They made a H.263 USB device for converting whatever you want to Apple iPod videos. And this is it was one of the first companies I ever worked at that actually was all at Linux. Everything was Linux, except for the VMware versions of XP they had for running Visio. The engineers required, some of them required it, but this is what they were using, and they were very happy with it. And these guys were among the best in the world, and they found this to be an engineering quality tool.
It's up there. I mean, it's what you put into it, is what you're going to get out of it later on. So if you're recording a really good quality source, you're putting it into there, and what you're going to get out should be pretty darn good too. All right, so I want to tell you, I want to kind of warm you up into what you kind of need to do before you even start recording or using Audacity. So, I'm going to go to File, or actually Edit, Preferences, and then you have this interface here. And I believe by default it's actually set to mono. So we're going to do 2-channel stereo. And then once I set these settings here, it'll actually go forward with them in the future. So it's always a good idea to kind of get these things out of the way. Quality, see how I set mine to 44. Originally it was this.
So the microphone is stereo?
Yeah, and I'm going to show you. Really 2-channel stereo. And my default audio quality for my bit rate is 128. I could actually change that. And then, what other things? Oh, another thing that's super important. Let me find these. Actually, it's right in this one. By default, since it's an open source application and the MP3 codec is proprietary, this will not be on. It'll be faded out, and basically it'll ask do you know where this particular library is? You want to locate it now. So what you would do, it's pretty simple, is so this is what you type in. It's already on my computer. But sudo apt-get lib lang 0, and that's the library for MP3. It's the open library for encoding in MP3. And then what that'll do is actually, it's probably not a good way to show you.
Locate?
So that library should be in user lib, and it's the last one at the end, right there. So you just click that, hit OK, and then you're good to go. And now you get export MP3 files and take in MP3 files.
But you're using for lame, right? There's other ones too. You could just select any one. Right?
Well, that's the one it wants. So I give it.
It'll only work with lame. It won't work with
no.
So this doesn't import MP3 files?
It does.
It does. But to export them, you have to go find this library and manually install it?
No, for both import and export of MP3s, you need that library.
Okay.
Log stuff, no problem. Wave, no problem. MP3, big problem. Alright. So we're good? Alright, open volume control. Oh yeah, I know you can't see this, but I'll kind of show it to you in a second. You've seen this before. You double click on your speaker. That's hiding over here. And bump up your microphone level. Make sure it's not muted. It'll look like that. Just mute it out. And then I use the mic boost, which increases the volume by 20 decibels here. And the microphone capture. So these are all my settings here. If you're having trouble getting audio into Audacity, it's probably because your mic's not working. It's either off or the capture is not on. So those are all the kind of the gotchas in the beginning that you need to get, understand what they do and set up. And then, so I'll give you a little sample on recording, and then we're going to show you how it does 2-channel stereo. So welcome to the Penlug podcasting meeting. I hope you enjoy the presentation. So you see I click this, which is the record button. I jump back to the beginning of the track with this guy, and it'll play back. Oh. I'm glad this happened, because I'll tell you what it is. And this is the other gotcha. And it's one of those things that you're always going to forget, just like I just did right now. Audacity is, again, one of those applications that is just a hog when it comes to audio. It wants to be the only one that has access to the audio. So I had Banshee on earlier, so I need to quit. And unfortunately, it won't let me play. I have to actually leave. So let's see if we get the save changes. So now I'm going to fire it up again. And I'll record. Welcome to the Penlug meeting. We're doing a podcast demo today for the group, and I hope you enjoy the presentation. All right. So now we go back to the beginning. Welcome to the Penlug meeting. We're doing a podcast demo today for the group, and I hope you enjoy the presentation. So, as you can see, it did by default. It set it up right. It's 2 channels. You can play around with the audio. You can increase audio, just switch from left to right. What I want to do is I want to just kind of create something real basic and simple, just to get an idea of how this works without going too in-depth into Audacity, because that could be like another presentation in itself on everything that it can do. So I'm going to show you how to just like get up and run with it. So as you saw right there, that's me recording. And the next thing I want to do is I want to bring in some kind of like an intro audio to play with, and I'm going to do it the naughty way. So I have a CD. I'm going to pop my CD in. And actually, it's probably going to launch a Banshee. Hopefully, it won't interfere. I'm just going to exit out of it. I'm going to test it, make sure it's not wrong. Welcome to the Pen. Alright, good. Okay, so what I want to use is Sound Juicer. Sound Juicer is what normally launches by default with Ubuntu when the CDs get put in. I changed that because I like Banshee, and Banshee plays nice. Because every time, I don't understand why they even do this. It's like putting your audio CD and it takes you automatically to a ripping application, which is, I guess, is convenient for some, but not if you don't want to load your hard drive up full of songs every time.
But they're figuring the average person,
I mean, a lot of people just like putting in a CD and listening to them and pop them out. But anyways, so what I'm doing is I'm untaking all these because I only want to play this. I only want to, like it says here, extract that particular file. So I'm just going to overwrite this recording that I had earlier on here, this other folder. It's going to take, just a few seconds. It all depends on how fast your processor is. Actually, what I should have showed you too, there's preferences. And you can set, over here it says CD quality, lossless, AUG, multimedia. It's got a few other ones but it's not letting me access right now. But you could also pick MP3. You could pick different levels of sound quality again too.
So what is the Creative Commons license for this CD that you're ripping?
It's on my fair use plan.
Uh-huh.
Because I'm giving a demonstration to a class.
So it's public performance.
It's kind of, no, not public performance.
Academic research.
So you're only going to use a portion of it, right? Will be your
Yeah. Okay, so that's out.
Go to preferences now.
Okay.
Does it really change it? There you
So
go.
there's your choices.
Black is the new one.
If you really want to do it well, or you know how pristine as copies you make, yeah, you do the FLAC audio.
How good is FLAC? Like,
It's supposed to be one of the best there is.
no, I mean, does
There's
it do 25% or 50% the original file size, or
Half size.
not 50%?
It is for FLAC too. Okay.
Would there be an advantage to, instead of taking an MP3 and converting it into an OGG, recording instead in FLAC and then generating the other two from that?
You do great quality each time you do that.
Even
FLAC's
if you
lost
say-
now.
But FLAC's
But I thought
lossless.
FLAC was, it said it was lossless.
If your archive copy is the FLAC version and you know transcribe it to other things, that's fine. But if you're going to keep going back and forth to different things, you keep changing
What
it.
he said is, if you download an MP3 from the internet, and then you convert the MP3 to FLAC, then from the FLAC you can create an OGG from that FLAC.
Well, I actually
You
was-
still lose
You'll
quality.
lose quality.
Yeah.
You still lose quality from the MP3, and also, FLAC will grow the size of that file by factor of 5 instead of a factor of 10 as it would be for a WAV. Because all you're doing is basically, that's what a FLAC is, it's a WAV file that's half the size.
Well, the point I thought I was trying to make was that if you're trying to make a podcast and you want both MP3 and OGG, that maybe the thing to do would be to record in FLAC and then
Oh, I see.
create the MP3 and OGG from the FLAC file,
Sure.
and then you don't lose
There's no
the
problem with
quality of converting MP3 to OGG or vice versa.
Well, what I'm going to show you, just hold on, and then I'll show you how I would export out to different formats, to those two formats without creating a FLAC. But I can see where you're coming from, and that's valid too. If you want
I
to
think you
make
might
your,
end up with better quality that way.
you can do that, or you can just always keep your project, your Audacity project, that has all the native, or all the files you brought into it originally, and that quality, and nothing changes. Or if you want to save space, you get rid of that and just make it flat, like you said.
Okay.
But then you can't really edit it, you have to redo it. Okay, so everybody's satisfied there. So now I'm going to try to import that in. Created an OGG version of that file. I'm just going to say OK. And you notice the timeline here just changed drastically because it filled up the whole area here. Now it's just scrunched to the left. And then all this is that one track that I just had. So at this point, it's going to sound really weird. So why don't I just go ahead and show you what that's going to sound like. Welcome to the Penn Live meeting. We're doing a podcast. So it's just kind of like, it's not really anything, all right? So what I'm going to show you to do now is see these buttons here? This one is called a selector, I believe, or time shift tool, sorry. And you grab this, you can move this out of the way, all right? Now, since we're at the beginning of the file, we could basically hit play again. You kind of heard what that sounded like. And just kind of pick and choose what section you want from that track. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take, this is the selection tool. So the first one was the time shift, this one's the selection. So I want to take this portion here, and the rest, I can care less what happens with it. So over here, you can do trim outside selection, which does what it says. It'll trim out everything outside the selection. Or if you wanted to, you can go here and do, cut, and then delete that whole file, paste, the wrong way to do it. So the right way to do it is leave that. So now I have that section. And then I get my time shift tool, I move it forward. So let's hear what that sounds like. So it's kind of, that section of the music already has kind of like its own little loop thing going, which kind of works out nice for what I'm going to try to do at this point. So you notice right when I hit play, it was that full blast, just playing, at the level that, it was, since I cut it out that section. So a lot of times what you want to do is you want to save your listeners' ears by kind of like fading it in a little bit. And that's what we're going to do here. So I'm going to get to the selection tool here. Actually, we're going to fade it in from about here's good. So we go to effect, fade in, and then watch what happens to the front of that. So you just got to take it, and then it's going to, now let's hear what that sounds like. In the beginning, play. So it slowly moves in. Now, so what you have to do is kind of think creatively, or think how this is gonna work with what you've recorded already. Actually, the way to really think of this is like a non-linear video editor almost, but for audio, because what shows through above or below, is what you'll actually hear, and then you can kind of move the parts to the areas you want. So if you've done any video editing, very similar. All right, so I want to take this end over here. I want to make sure I got the right end. And obviously I want to kind of fade that out so then my voice comes in nice and smooth. So it's not overpowering me talking again. So I'm going to hit fade out. And I think you guys know what's happening there. So now I want to grab the time shift tool. I'm going to move this over. And I want to put it in kind of like where it starts to fade out. Alright? And now I'm going to go back to the beginning. Hit play, and it should sound, actually, I'm going to move it a little bit more. So about there. So this could be actually a whole mini little podcast. This one segment, you'll see why. All right, so play. Welcome to the Ken Live meeting. Podcast today. Actually, I should have made my audio section longer. So what you want to do is you want to fade in, kind of come in nice and smooth with your voice, and then have that background music eventually trail out slowly. So that's basically the process of getting the beginning, and that's actually what we want to do at the end if you're going to have like an exit kind of song going in the background, is get that to fade out quietly as well. So I can try to do it again, or kind of move on from here. How do you guys feel? Move on? Charge? Take it. All right. So, actually, hold on. That's fine. So at this point, say everything was perfect. Let's play make believe. So we do export it as an MP3. And, oh, actually, hold on. There's something really critical. Not critical, it's important. Basically, you want to go edit, select all. You have all the tracks in the list selected. And then what you want to do is go to effect. And this is really important. Normalize. Because a lot of times, either the music you're bringing into it, or even when you're talking on the microphone and you kind of get really close and it gets really loud, you're like, it's just like, it distorts. The normalize will help bring everything into the same level. So nothing will peak. The peak will be exactly at the highest point that it figures out is the highest point. And then you can also bring it down if you need it to quiet down, or you can amplify it too.
Is that an absolute normalization, or is it normalizing the one track to the other?
Okay, so what it's doing, I believe it's taking making it 3 decibels quieter than the highest point.
Oh.
On, I'm trying to think of, I think it's all out of both, or anyone want to help me out with this? John? I think it's out of all the sound that's getting processed, it figures out what the peak is, and then it automatically drops it down by 3 decibels, and then it smooths the rest of it out to kind of work in that range. Unless Stu or Scott, right?
That's because the output file format has a dynamic range and you have to fit your
Well, this is before you even export.
creation.
This is so it all just sounds normal, and when you like, especially when you have headphones on, because like with a speaker you won't notice it as much, but there's some podcasts that are done poorly where the guys are talking, you have it at the right level, everything's great, and then they put on some music and it's like, whoa, what the hell is that? It just blows your ears out. Well, that's what stops that from happening. So if you want to save your listeners' ears, denormalize.
If you have a podcast with two people talking like left and right, will that put them both in the center then, or because it says it removes DC offset?
It'll make a 2-channel feed out of the output. So it'll combine everything and just create a stereo output of everything that you can put in. Because like, say for example, this is what I'm saying, and then my partner is saying something over here, and there's music in between, or somewhere else. It's just going to process all that and then create a single file with 2 channels. So it already normalized it because it's such a small thing. And then you do your export. And then we're going to call this test. Actually, let's do test 2. So I did one earlier today. I was actually loving it. And then this is what I was talking about, ID3 tags. Audacity has a default set of items that you put in, which is really limited. And that's why I want to talk about Easy Tag in a second. But you could go ahead and you put in the title, artist, album, the genre. Could be, I don't know what they have down here, speech or spoken word, but then if you're doing music, you put that down.
These are actually like ISO standards for ID3 tags that do put the genera on there. Like, it's like a set of them that you could choose from.
Well, I think there's a unified set that everybody uses.
Death metal.
But and then the comment, you could put a comment of what the audio is about, or you could put in your URL to the site that that audio is belongs to, and then just hit OK. And then the same thing goes for OGG. So export as OGG right here. And then see it has a .ogg extension. You just name it, test2 OGG. And it automatically converts. So now I have a version, MP3, another version of OGG. Now this is where it gets kind of interesting and fun. Easy Tag. And so the reason why Easy Tag is kind of a neat little application is I'm going to launch Banshee real quick. Because if you have a good audio playback application, it should do that. I'll show you. So there's a podcast called Floss Weekly, right? So as you can see here, not so well, is you can see it now, right? Okay. Is with the ID3 tag, or at least with Easy Tag, you can add all kinds of great stuff. So for example, let me see if I can squish it over. All right. So you have, remember when Audacity is a limited number of things that you could actually add to the track. This one you have title, artist, album, year, genre, and then your genre is like humongous. It's like 2 long panels here. You can add a comment. It's got a room for URL. You can put the type of copyright you want in, who the original artist, composer, blah blah. And then in the picture section, you could add an image to the file. So when I'm playing in Banshee, you see with the Floss Weekly, that's embedded already in it too. So it's got a nice cover art to the podcast itself, which makes it look really professional.
Easy Tag puts cover art into the MP3 file.
Yeah, and I'll show you how to do that right now. So So I have a test 2 is what I made, right? So test 2, oops, 10 lug demo, artist, album,
No.
that's alright. You put your year in here,
Tab before.
genre, and then I've got speech over here.
What about booty joke? What was that word?
There you go, speech, comment, I like it, composure, you know, you can put whatever you want, right? And you can maybe put your Creative Commons license here, you know, CC, you know, .3 version, right? And you put your URL, so. And then put encoded by, you know, whatever. So, and then you'll see what's going to happen here in a second. So now we go to pictures, and it's actually pretty simple. So I know you can't see it right now, but I'm going to hide it behind here. I'm going to penlug.org. And I'm going to say, you know what? This would make a nice cover. All right, so when you copy image location, anyone use GIMP?
Yeah.
Wow, not too many, huh?
Okay.
Well, that's cool. You guys should definitely do that too. It's just like Photoshop.
There's a lot to know.
Well, this is stuff that I use every day, so. Alright. And this is something that took me a while to figure out because it works totally different than Photoshop or Illustrator. Is that you can't really copy and paste into GIMP. So, you see how I said copy this location or whatever when I right click on that graphic? So what you do is you go to File, Open Location, copy and paste that link that you just had, and then it brings it in. So there's no way to bring it in by like this standard copy and paste mode. So right here I'm just going to I can do this pretty fast. I'm going to flatten the image, and then I'm going to something that you should know too. The cover art, the largest it can be is 300 by 300 pixels. So I'm going to unlock the canvas. I'm going to say I want it to be 300, the height 300. I want to say center that, resize, flatten it again so it gets rid of the transparency. Boom. Alright, so that's that. Use save as. Let's save as the way it is there, and desktop, podcast demo. So save as that, save. Okay.
So what did the flattening do? Stretch out the...
Flattening gets rid of the transparency. So automatically have transparency.
Right here, son. Get out of the white background.
Where's my, okay, here we go. So, see the plus sign? Click plus. You guys can see the plus sign there. So now we have that there. And then you can actually set what kind of set properties for that picture. And you can set what type of icon or what type of image that is. And you want to say it's the cover or the front cover. So you can actually do like a CD. You can have a front cover, a back cover. Maybe your back cover has the credits. So if you borrow any of that music, you put it on the back cover.
Does that mean you can only be either the cover or an icon? You can't be both?
You can add multiple images. So that's that. And then just hit save file. So you want to write the tag information to this, say yeah. So now let's go to it. Test 2 MP3, right? So open it with Banshee. There you go. I got my cover. I got the info here to the 10 light meeting. And I'll go bring the podcast down to it. And then you got all the other details over here too. So there you go. There's your quick intro into how to make a quick podcast and how to tag it and how to add the cover for it. But you needed all that background earlier, just so you know what you're getting into.
Hey, what's a What's out there in the way of a stand-up, walk-around recording device for doing it, like interviews with people?
Just any audio recorder. Get one that does like that records to digital format like an MP3 or something, so it's easy just to bring in, not a tape recorder.
Your cell phone may well have a voice memo
Yeah,
feature.
that works. But then most of those things are going to be mono. So like even my digital camera, it does audio recording, it does mono only.
Okay.
Probably not good sound quality.
Yeah.
Well, but is there a walk-around tape recorder that kind of gets, that draws people's, something as good as a commercial news audio recorder that's out
You're
there?
asking the wrong guy. I'll go to Circuit City Best Buy and ask them. Because I'm sure there is.
You're looking for an MP, a player for this?
A recording, something with a first-class mic that you can walk around with and interview somebody standing up. Yeah,
Good on board.
I guess.
You can use Olympus. I mean, they carry in
Really good quality.
They are?
So,
Okay.
I want to show you a
amazing
couple last things
how
real
good they
quick,
are.
if you guys don't mind, because we got 15 minutes. Is the best way to really, if you want to get serious about this and you want to do it right, is you're going to need an outlet to get this content to the public. So I would set up a WordPress blog, and with WordPress, there's a plugin called PodPress, and this is actually in action, and I'll show you what PodPress is in just a sec. So it's got the embedded player already. Here's the buffering. I'm going to show you earlier, and then it should play. And then you have iPlayer, play in a pop-up, which is really convenient, and you won't think why, but anytime you deal with Flash and it's on a page, if you leave that page, like you go back or click on a link, that audio is just gone. So you were listening like 5 or 8 minutes into it, and now you gotta start from the beginning because you just left it.
Uh-oh.
So if you do a pop-up, it actually has this player embedded in a small little pop-up. You can actually see it, I think, here. Maybe my preferences are saying that. It worked. Well, anyways, this is how it's supposed to happen. And then you have a download link. So all this is automatically set up for you with this PodPress plugin. And or if you don't want to go all fancy.
So when you say plugin, it's not a Firefox plugin or something.
It's
It's
not a
something
Fire-
you
no.
install on the WordPress.
Actually,
account, right?
I was fortunate enough to find this one link that you guys do not really like. Hold on. My computer's acting up. You know what it is? Have you guys experienced Flash messing with your Firefox browser? It happens to me all the time.
Yes,
What does it
yeah.
do? It just gets nosy and starts screwing things up.
And then won't stop running, and it seems to me that it's after using Flash that the browser will unexpectedly crash or lock up the keyboard.
Hold on. One moment, please.
Which version of Firefox is it? The 2.0 or whatever? I heard 3.0 is going to come out, and it's supposed to be really great.
I got mail. Sorry. Let me log out. Okay. So let me get to what I wanted to show you guys, which was this killer demo on the PodPress plugin, because it's amazing, and it's free, which is awesome. So actually, if you guys want to, let's just go with the video again.
This is a browser plugin.
Yeah. No, it's not a browser plugin. It's a WordPress plugin, and it actually shows you how to install it. So it's going to answer that question you had earlier. And is the connection down again?
I don't think so. You wouldn't have gotten to that page, right?
But it just, now it's not doing it.
Ah.
That guy should be-
Hello, this is Dave Jackson from the schoolofpodcasting.com, and in today's tutorial, we're going to look at PodPress. This is a powerful plugin for WordPress that takes care of all your iTunes tags and a whole lot more. So here I've logged into my website, and I'm actually in the folder for WordPress, and you want to go to this particular folder right here, WP Content, and I'll double click on that. And here is the folder plugins. So I go in.
So that plugins folder that you just showed, that's your standard place to input any kind of plugin for WordPress. And there's a whole page, and developers just contribute all kinds of just wonderful plugins that do all kinds of crazy, nice, wonderful things. So this is one of them. That's
you
really
see
good.
I don't have PodPress installed here. So here is the file after unzipped the file that I downloaded. All you have to do is click on upload, and that's it to do the basic install. Okay, and here we are. The folder has been uploaded. Now, this next step is optional, but while you're here, you might as well do it. You want to go back to the folder. So I've gone up 2 folders in this case. I'm back into the main folder, and what you're looking for, if you're not sure, you'll see a file called WP-RSS2. When you see that, you know you're in the right folder. And you can come over to PodPress, and under optional files, there are 2 files here. One is PremiumCast.php and WP-Atom, and I'll go ahead and upload into the main directory of where you have your WordPress installed. Now I did this earlier, so I'll go ahead and just overwrite that. And that's it to install. It's very, very easy. Now let me take you into the WordPress, and I'll show you how to configure this.
So he's going to show you the admin page for WordPress itself.
So here I've logged into my WordPress blog, and I'm going to go to the plugins option at the top, and you'll see if I scroll down, here's my PodPress, and it's version 4.1 in this case. And all I have to do to turn this on is click on Activate. And in this case, I now have a PodPress option here at the top. I can click on that. And the first tab that comes up is your iTunes settings. So this is a preview of what your listing is going to look like in iTunes. And you've got your title, you've got the description. This is of your podcast. In other words, the description of your show. And so you've got things like the owner's name and your email address and your graphic that can be up to 300 by 300 pixels. There's also another spot if you want to do 144 by 144, which I did in this case. So I've got the PodPress logo there. The channel category is anything you want. This is for everyone except iTunes. And you've got these other options here. Let me scoot this over a little bit. And you can turn these on or off and update your options and see if you like them or not. Now, other iTunes options, you have your keywords. Do you want to use the WordPress categories? Your keywords, if you want to put them in by hand, you can put in your iTunes. All your iTunes tags are here. And then this is talking about your program.
So you're getting the idea that obviously this is trying to help you syndicate to iTunes. What you actually need is an account with iTunes, saying that you're a content producer and you have your own podcast feed. Once you create that account, this right here will actually input all the information to the iTunes content shop, or whatever you want to call it. It's a music store, and you'll be listed as just like everybody else, and it'll show up all this information. So this is giving you a really nice UI for adding this type of information, just getting it plugged into the iTunes music store. And then you can actually charge. You can set this up for free, or you can have it so people actually look into that.
Podcast isn't explicit, and then you would get your iTunes links and your iTunes feed numbers and put those in here, and again click on update options, and that would be your iTunes feed tab. Now if I scroll back up to the top, under your general settings, you can put in your address to where you store your media file. So maybe this was your own website, and I'll just make up my website.com/audio. Maybe that's where you store all your MP3 files. Now, if it was a Libsyn account or something like that, you can put that in there as well. It can be local or it can be remote. If we go down a little further, you can enable PodPress to do statistics.
This is really cool.
On downloads via the web or downloads via an RSS. It's actually pretty cool. We'll see that a little later. if you're using the PodTrack system, and if you're not sure what that is, there's a more information link over here. But this requires that you put a redirect link at the beginning of the URL for your MP3. Well, no longer do you have to remember that URL. PodPress will automatically put that in for you simply by checking this box. Now, remember when we installed the two files at the beginning of this tutorial? If you uploaded the premium content, this will now work. All you have to do is put a check mark, and now you can password protect your podcast. And we'll talk about that a little later as well in the tutorial. The third tab at the top, player settings. You can change the colors, and here's the loader bar, the slider. Simply put in the color code in the appropriate box here and click on update options, and you can change the appearance of the player. The fourth tab is stats. Now I was just playing with this, so there's not a lot of stats here, but you can see where you would track how many of the downloads were via the web, if somebody was at your website, or how many were via a subscription feed, and I'll give you the total here for each file. It's very, very cool. Now also here,
this is one thing that is almost impossible to do, is tracking. Well, unless you're like really smart and know how to create a really good script that tracks how many times people download a certain file, and then on which method they did it, if it was through your website or through your feed. I think FeedBurner actually has some functionality to do this. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of FeedBurner. If you haven't, feedburner.com, they track all kinds of statistics off your RSS feed. But this guy will track activity both on your website and on your feed, which is, I don't know, it's super relevant information that, especially if you have a client who wants to advertise with you guys, he's going to ask you, well, how many listeners do you have? How many downloads do you usually get? And you're like, I don't know. That will tell you.
But so what this is your podcast file is on this website. When somebody clicks to listen on it, they collect user agent data from the guy that asked to hear it.
No, it doesn't really collect any data. They just tick off like, well, there's another download.
Well, they suck it off of the HTTP message, and then it gets saved, and then they play your podcast is transmitted to their sent over the internet.
I think so. I think I follow what you were just saying. But if you want to really detailed stats, FeedBurner will be the way to go. But this is pretty good too.
Well, if you can let you download that raw list to your own file so you can cleanse it yourself.
Well, I know I can go to my Webalizer account and I can see which files, were accessed. But I mean, this way at least I know which ones were listened to through the site and which ones were done through RSS. Because RSS is really, really hard to track activity on. Because if you have an RSS, everybody has an RSS reader, Google Reader, Bloglines, whatever. They're all third-party applications that are pulling content, but it's really hard to track how many times and from which clients and who's really accessing their info.
If it was via web, but if this was via a subscription, it might show that this came from, for example.
Actually, this is answer to your question.
No.
Yeah. So it does
iTunes. So stats, because it shows you how much of your downloads come from subscription and how many come from your website. Very cool statistics. So what does it look like when you actually go to use it? Well, let's go over here and click on Write. And we're not going to spend a lot of time in terms of actually putting in data here. That's the same. That's just your show notes. But if we go down to where you actually use the plugin, it's right here. Add media file. But when I click on this, I can again put my location. I don't have to include the PodTrack redirect. That's already in there. And my title. And now here under top, it's actually very smart. It's dynamic. But for instance, if I say this is an MP3, it's iPod compliant. All I need.
Did you guys just see that drop down? So that thing not only handles audio, it does all kinds of video too. It does MPEG-4 video, .mov, it'll embed a flash player to place some of those formats that can't play through a flash player, or it'll add the right code for it to play the file type.
As the size and the duration. If this was, say, a movie, I could say it's an iPod compliant video. And it's going to ask me, the size, the duration, a little preview image here. that I can do, and I can actually have my own little preview image and the dimensions. And it's even got some common dimensions for video. And if it was a PDF, you know, just the size. Now I could go through all these, but you'll see where all these settings are dynamic. They are based on what option you have selected. Now, in addition here to, if I said, well, this was, you know, an MP3 file, you know, I could put the location and the size and the duration. And then down here, you have another explicit tag. Now, this is saying, where before it was saying, does your podcast, is it explicit? This is saying, is this episode?
All right, that's probably enough of that. But anyways, you get the idea. There's third-party developers making these killer plugins for WordPress. And WordPress, by the way, is all PHP. It's open source. You can look at all the code, you can modify it, you can do whatever the hell you want with it, and it's completely free. You don't have to pay anyone. So, and it runs on the Linux server, on the LAMP stack, actually. And those are the tools you need. So hopefully this was informational. Hopefully this answered some questions you guys had about podcasting in general. If there's any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.